Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you are and what time you're watching this video. No long fancy intro. Please consider subscribing if you find this video to be helpful or entertaining in any way at all. It's free and it helps me a lot. And with that, let's get into the video. So a couple weeks ago, I made this video where I talked about why I was going from purple gear that was barely traded to blue gear that was fully traded and the benefits that came with it, like a higher combat power, the ability to save Lucent and essentially redo my gear. And I wanted to make a follow-up video to that now, as it's been about 2 weeks, and at this point I'm starting to transition again from fully traded blue gear to purple gear, and I don't want to make the same mistake as I made the first time transferring in essentially empty blues. And a lot of people in the comments in this video said they made the same mistake, so I figured I would at least do a little bit of recording and a little bit of explanation on how you should properly transition from blue gear to purple gear. So the first example we're going to talk about are these Shadow Harvester grips. I've been fortunate enough to be running Temple of Slaughter to try and get these traded up, and I've gotten 3 of 4 mana regen just from running the dungeon. And what we're going to do is we're going to transfer in my Invoker Gloves. That's going to give us 960 Blessing. And since the Invoker Gloves are level 9, it's going to give us level 6 on the Shadow Harvester grips. So at this point, I have Shadow Harvester grips that are level 6 that have 960 Blessing. So now what I need to do is get the other traits that I desire on my grips. There are 2 ways that you can do this. The first would be if you already have another pair of Shadow Harvester grips. In this case, I don't, because the only ones I got were mana regen, hence the level 3 mana regen anyway. So then what I had to do was go onto the auction house and get the extracts that I wanted to put on. In my case, this was Magic Endurance as well as Ranged Endurance. Important to note here, you can actually also use Trade Unlock Stones. However, Trade Unlock Stones are really hard to come by, and I would really recommend you save them for things that are very expensive to unlock, maybe some Shadow Harvester pants or something like that. I kind of figured most people watching this video are not in that realm yet, and if they are, they're probably not watching this video. But yes, you can also use Trade Unlock Stones. However, I just encourage you to be really, really careful with them because they are really hard to come by. So whether you have the gear already or you're getting it from the auction house, get those into your inventory, and then you're going to go under trait. You're going to click into the item that you want to put the trait on, and you can see here that was Ranged Endurance, and this is Magic Endurance. And you're just going to put those on by unlocking the trait, and you'll see I have done that here for Ranged Endurance and Magic Endurance. So now you can see we have our piece of gear with 1 trait into Ranged Endurance, 1 into Magic, and in my case 3 into Mana Regen. And now what you need to do is decide what you're going to spend the 960 Blessing on, because with that 960 Blessing, you can essentially bring in 2 blue traits for free, kind of, because you rolled up your fully traded blue into your purple and got that blessing. You can use that blessing to bring in a blue trait to a purple piece of gear with a 100% chance of succeeding. So then we need to determine which traits we're going to use our blessing on to be able to use a blue version and guarantee a success. So you're going to search the different trait values that you need. In this case, I'm searching Ranged Endurance under Armor and then going to Hands. And you're going to see that it's roughly 53 to 54 to 55 Lucent per trait. Now for Mana Regen, it was about 49 to 50, and then there was a couple outliers here. However, remember, I only need 1 of these, so this is essentially going to be a 49 Lucent trait. Magic Endurance, which is the other thing I need, is about a 44, 45 Lucent trait. So the most expensive one in my case is Ranged Endurance. Even though it's not that much expensive, it is still the most expensive at 53 to 55 Lucent. So because of this, I'm going to use my 960 blessing, well, 900 of it, to bring in 2 blue ranged endurance traits at a 100% chance of success, as it is the most expensive one I'm going to have to buy otherwise. So what I'm doing is clicking the use blessing button, clicking enchant, and then it's going to guarantee that I get these 2, because it's about 450 each, onto the piece of equipment. Then, just for fun, I actually had so much ranged endurance blues in my inventory or storage that I just started throwing them in just to see if it would hit with the 10% chance. And actually, the second one did. So if you don't use 450 blessing, you only have a 10% chance for the trait to go through. However, I had a bunch, so I figured I would just gamble it. This is up to you. This is your discretion if you want to try and get essentially a 1 in 10 chance to have a blue accepted by your purple. However, it's not guaranteed, so do this at your own risk. So then I just finished off my gloves here, because at this point I got 2 of the ranged endurance levels through the blues using my blessing, and I got a third one through lucky RNG. I finished off the remaining 1 mana regen trait and 3 magic endurance traits by just going on the auction house and purchasing the cheapest epic of that trait that was on the auction house available. In this case, it was the gauntlets here for mana regen. So that went through, and then I did the same thing with magic endurance. In this case, I'm not entirely sure what these pieces are, but it was essentially these that were the cheapest on the auction house, and I just finished trading them out. And I just want to mention throughout all of this that you don't need to buy things from the auction house. You can farm for your traits. I had some that were able to be used. For example, mana regen. I got 3 of those levels from grips I had already farmed otherwise. I had a melee endurance for something else that I used. Just if you accumulate things in storage and then eventually you need them, you can have them, but in a lot of cases you don't. So just go to the auction house and find the cheapest version that works for you. I then ended up doing the same thing again with my Swirling Essence shoes. I had fully traded Gladestalker boots that were level 9. I rolled those up into the Swirling Essence shoes. It gave me 960 blessing. I used that to purchase 2 blue movement speed traits, because those are the most expensive on the auction house. If I go to the auction house here and I search for epic movement speed on armor and then go to feet, you can see they're about 230 each, as opposed to what else I needed, which was max health, which was 111 roughly each, or I think the other trait I have on those is magic endurance. So magic endurance, which is feet, like 39, 40. So I basically saved myself on my Swirling Essence boots about... so what did we say those were? Those were, let's just look at it again. Movement speed here. Search on feet, 240, 245 roughly each. And in a rare, those are about 80. So 160 Lucent, and using the blessing I had accumulated, versus roughly 500 Lucent if I bought the cheapest movement speed trait on the auction house. So that's a total saving of 340 Lucent right there. These are the things that I didn't do when I first originally went from blues to purples that I now am understanding and doing. I wanted to pass this information along to those of you who may be in a similar situation, because when I first made that original video where I messed up going straight into purples, a lot of people said they did the same thing. So I figured this could be a good thing to do that hopefully helps somebody out there. So that's it for me. I want to thank you so much for watching, and like I said, if you found this video to be helpful or entertaining in any way at all, please consider subscribing. It's free and it helps me a lot more than you can think. And until next time, have a good rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.